Oh,
Oh no, so it'll be on the player itself.
oh, maybe it's not on there yet since it's not streaming yet.
Should, if you'll refresh right now, it should switch over.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see the volume. It's like a YouTube link or something, huh?
Yes.
Okay, I understand. So do I have to do anything or are you going to stream it all and I just
Yeah, no, well, we're gonna go ahead and stream live now. I'm just gonna start with a very quick introduction, and then the floor is yours.
All right, 1 second. I got to get my slide thing up here, my presenter view. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are very excited to welcome Danielle Shay, who is a market analyst, trader, and the director of options at Simpler Trading. Her focus is on trend following and directional strategies via options trading, though she covers stocks and ETFs as well. As a former teacher, Ms. Shay's goal is to help traders grasp the basics that make trading simpler, no matter their skill level. Ms. Shay, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to getting started. So today we're going to be talking about how to use options trading to change your life. Do we have sound and screens, everyone?
Yep, sound is great.
Awesome, thank you. So what we're going to be talking about today is how I have multiplied my accounts relatively safely. You know, in options trading, there's always going to be that risky aspect, but I do trade options in a relatively safe manner. We're also going to be talking about specifically trading small accounts, and I'm going to walk you through my options account growth checklist along with my top 3 trading strategies. So let's just start off with saying, why I do this. Well, number one, I do this because I love trading, but I also love teaching and I love sharing everything that I have learned with anyone who wants to learn. I love trading with my community that I've created, and I want to share with you what has gotten me so far. So let's just start off with the obvious, okay? When you're growing a small account, you absolutely have to work on selecting high probability trades. If you cannot select high probability trades, everything else is not going to matter after that, because especially when you only have a little bit of amount to work with, you really have to make sure you're getting it right. So I use my method to multiply accounts like this. This is just an example of an account that I started trading in June. And so this was initially a $6,000 account. It had about $10,000 growth in about 6 weeks. And then this is the same account in August. And so this $6,000 account ended up being a little bit more than $30,000. So that was about a 5x gain in about 3 months. So that's the type of thing that I like to do with options trading. For me, it's really all about high probability setups with an edge. So every single time you're looking at a trade, you have to look at the setup and you have to look at the pattern, okay? And I want you to think about it and rank it. I like to look at it on a 5-star system, okay? Every single reason why the trade setup might be high probability gets it a star, okay? So if you have one reason, you only have 1 star. If you have 3 great reasons why the trade setup is high probability, you get 3 stars. 4 and 5 stars are obviously the best. So I call this 5-star trading. Every single setup that I go through, I want to make sure that it's at least a 5-star, and I prefer at least a 4-star, and I prefer 5 stars. That is how I select my setups. So I share these methods on my newsletter. I have a newsletter. It's fivestartrader.com. That's FIVE. I'm also the director of options at Simpler Trading in the trading room, and I have my own mastery options picking service as well. So if you're interested in this, you can find me right here on the free newsletter at any point in time. You can go there right now. So 5-star for me is all about confluence. How many of you have used the squeeze? So the squeeze for me is my number one high probability setup. This is a setup where I'm looking for consolidation and I want to enter the trade when there's consolidation before a breakout, all right? A squeeze is a really important setup, but I don't use the squeeze just by itself, okay? How many of you use Fibonacci? So Fibonacci to me is very critical, but again, I don't use Fibonacci just by itself. What about relative strength? I call this method finding Phoenix. I'm always looking for the strongest ticker in the bunch. Relative strength is important, but not by itself, okay? But what if you have a squeeze, you have a consolidation ready to break out, and you have a solid Fibonacci setup, and you have relative strength? That's 1, 2, 3 stars already, okay? And then what if you have some high short interest on top of it? I love trading a short squeeze. I don't know how many of you like short squeezes, but I love trading short squeezes. Peloton, Chewy, those have made for some great moves. And then to top it all off, I like setups that go in the direction of the trend, okay? Because that is telling you that you have a higher probability of picking your direction correctly when you have a ticker that's already trading in a nice trend. It's a lot easier to follow the trend than to fight it. So these are several of my favorite 5 stars, okay? And if I have all of these on a single chart, that tells me that this is a very high probability setup, and that's what I want to trade in the options market. So here's an example with net, all right? We have a trend. This is a recent hot IPO. We also have Fibonacci support. We also have a squeeze. We also have positive volume and relative strength. Additionally, you had an earnings report coming up. I love trading a run into earnings. So this is definitely a 5-star setup. I got in right around here. Then I got out on the pop the day before the earnings report came out. So here's just an example. I like to give examples of the types of trades that I do. This one was a pretty cheap trade. It was $3.10 a pop, and got out of those for $5.80 a pop. That was an 87% winner. And I think that only took maybe a week or so. But those are the type of trades I do. And I'm going to show you a bunch more examples here, along with all of my tips for trading small accounts. So let me just go ahead and introduce myself. Again, my name is Danielle Shay. I'm the director of options. I'm a frequent commentator in the media, CNBC, Fox, all that good stuff. I also post really regularly on Twitter at Trader Danielle. And I'm the director of options, meaning that I trade primarily options, but I do also buy and hold stocks, ETFs, and I also trade futures as well. So for me, it wasn't always like this. I got into trading pretty young. I previously was an elementary school teacher, and I was living in Costa Rica. I fell in love. I was going to get married. And then things went horribly wrong, and I had to leave my son's father when he was brand new baby. I had to get out of there. I escaped with $800 and 2 suitcases. Thankfully, I got away from him, but I was broke and I had nothing to do, and I didn't know what I was going to do, right? I can't be a teacher in the States as a single mom. I mean, I was going to struggle for the rest of my life. So my dad right here suggested that I learn how to trade options, okay? And for those of you who are familiar with Simpler Trading, this is John Carter. That was actually the first time I met him at an event back when I was learning how to trade. So I started to learn how to trade when I didn't know anything about options. I didn't even know what an options contract was. And what I did was I studied from a variety of mentors. I studied from John, a lot of different people online. And what I realized was that each trader has their own high probability method, okay? And what I wanted to do was combine those methods. The Fibonacci Queen uses Fibonacci, John uses the squeeze, Henry Gamble uses the trend. So why don't we put all those things together and make a power setup out of it? So that's how I came up with my trading strategy. For me, I'm completely self-made. I don't have a finance degree. That's me back when I was teaching in Costa Rica, but I've always been a teacher. And, now I've gone from the beaches of Costa Rica to CNBC. So it's been a pretty crazy journey, and I'm happy to be here and share all of this with you, everything that I've learned and what works for me, because trading has changed my life. So let's talk about how much you're working with. Now, one of my favorite parts about options trading is the fact that it has such a low barrier to entry, all right? That's why I wanted to get into it to begin with. For me, these are different size accounts that I've started. $2,000 trading futures, and I traded it up to 15. 2K buying stock, traded it up to 10. 10 buying stock, traded up to 20. And I can actually update these at this point. 6K up to 31. So, this money adds up, and each individual trade adds up. A lot of these trades, you might think, oh, well, that's not that much. But if you have, 7, 8, 9 of them on, you got $200 here, $200 here, $90, $38. It adds up, and you have $1,000 day on your hands. And that's a pretty normal day. So this requires a specific formula, okay? This is going to be my options account growth checklist here. You have to, number one, start off by knowing your goals. You have to know what type of growth you're looking for, and what type of risk you're willing to take on to get there. Do you want to make a nice, slow, and easy 20%? Do you want 50%, or do you want 500%? That's going to require you to trade in different ways. You also need to know yourself. You need to recognize what you like about trading and what you don't like about trading. Because if you're trying to force trading strategies that you don't like, it's never going to work. The market condition is absolutely critical. This is one major mistake that I find new traders make all the time. They're using the wrong strategy in the wrong market condition. Setups is absolutely critical. You have to know a variety of different patterns, and you have to know how to execute on those. Also, using a variety of option strategies is helpful. People will often think, oh, I only want to trade long calls, or I only want to trade spreads. The key in options trading is that you have to be able to pull different strategies out of your toolbox at different times. And then, of course, risk is paramount. So, if you start off with your goals and you know where you're going, that's the next step is looking at market conditions and how much you actually like to trade. For me, this is what it looks like, okay? In a strong directional market, because I am a directional trader, I'll typically have 12 to 15 positions on, okay? Those are the times where I'm just smashing it to the upside. My risk is a lot more than it would be during a choppy market because I'm going with the direction of the trend. In just a nice, easy trending market, I'll probably have about 6 to 12 positions on, but not my full amount of risk. In a choppy market or an extended market, kind of like we're in now, it's not extended at this moment in time, but it has been pretty choppy since we got that small correction a week or so ago. Then I have about 2 to 6 positions on. It's always my dream to be flat on vacation, but that doesn't happen very often. But I still write that there because maybe it'll happen someday. Something that is very important is that you absolutely need to know what you're good at and bad at. This is a huge mistake that I find people making all the time. You have to recognize your work schedule, what kind of childcare responsibilities you have, your stress levels, what type of trades you will find enjoyable or unenjoyable. For me, I'm homeschooling a 7-year-old, okay? Because we have a crazy pandemic on our hands. Now, did I ever think that I was going to be homeschooling my child while working full-time and trading? No, but I did purposely create my trading style so that I can leave my screens for a couple hours during the day and be completely fine with it and come back, and most likely everything's going to be fine. There are, of course, some crazy days where you have a random market sell-off. But for the most part, I select setups that do not have to be watched all day because I know that I have a 7-year-old and I know that I have other things that I need to do throughout the day. And I'm sure that's the same for a lot of you. So I make sure that I use strategies that can work with my family life because that is critical to me. So, here's an example of a day where I made $4,000. I woke up, I checked my trades for 10 minutes. I went down to the dock. We have a lake house and went fishing with my son, came back and just let my positions work because that's what they have to do. So making trading fit your lifestyle is just absolutely critical. I find this is a problem all the time. And it's just, I hate harping on it, but it's just so important. So here's an example of one of my trades. Peloton, as you know, I mean, it's a pretty volatile stock, right? But this is one where I just get into it and I just let it ride. Okay. Why? Well, it has a trend. It's a hot stock. It has a squeeze. It has a positive VZO, which is volume. And then it also has high short interest. Okay. This is one of those trades where you just get into it and you just let it go. Okay. You don't have to sit there and watch it every second. What you're waiting for is the break to the new high. Then you want to be watching it once it breaks to the new high. But this entire week and a half long journey, there's nothing to do with it but sit and wait. So I traded this one so many times, I can't even count. This is Peloton and Chewy are my top tickers this year, along with Tesla. But here are just some examples. $5.15 got out for 12 bucks, $3.15 out for $5. So I do a variety of different trades, some for a little bit larger account, some for a little bit smaller account. And then as I grow my account, I'll trade a little bit bigger. So here's a Chewy example as well. Again, you have that trend, you have that fib level, you have a squeeze, you have boom, you have positive volume, you have the breakout. So basically, I get in around here, wait, boom. So, and while this is working, I get to hang out with my son. This is our PE class, fishing at the dock. So Chewy, these options are pretty good price too. They were $6. They sold them for 12. It's a really nice gain for really any size account. So, I trade these in the options room. I also trade them in my mastery service, but I also talk about these on CNBC as well. So it was really funny because I had a segment in July about OSTK, Chewy, and Etsy. And, they were looking at me like, there's no way this thing can go higher. And I said, yep, absolutely, it's going to go higher. And they just kept going higher the rest of the summer for at least 2 more months. So, anyways, you're not always going to get this crazy growth. It depends on the market condition. Okay. So if you look at last year, July 2019 to July 2020, July, August, and September of 2019, those were slow and steady pinball market times. Okay. Then I had a period of major aggressive growth from October to February. And a lot of that included a lot of high short interest setups, also known as the short squeeze, Tesla, space. Market crashed in February. Definitely lost some money in February. That was not ideal. I was on an airplane to Hawaii when the market started to tank, which was really not great. But you're going to lose some money when the market corrects, and you have to learn how to switch and correct with that. So basically when that happened, I switched over to trading futures because we got into a really volatile momentum market. Once we got back to May, I started again, slow and steady growth. And then boom, I already, quintupled my account again. So this is the account that I had from July 2019 to right about the market crash. And then I actually ended up cashing out this account to buy a lake house. So I cashed that one out, and then I started with another account because that's typically what I do. And I started trading futures. So I started with this $2,000 account and ended up trading that up to $17,000. And then I ended up cashing out that one as well for the lake house. So, for me, it's all about shifting throughout the times. This is going to be a directional options market. For me, I was trading futures during this time. I got back into trading options around this level. And then, still just continuing to trade options. For me, the core options account growth formula is right here. Okay. You have to know your setup. The setup is going to be a high probability moment in time, a specific pattern that works, okay? After that, you have to know your current acceptable risk. Even though I was trading these accounts and being able to grow them so well, I still had pretty small trades on. Even now that my account's $30,000, I'm still only risking, less than $1,000 per position. So I like to keep my risk pretty small. You're never going to find me putting 50% of my an account in a trade or anything like that, because it's just not something that I do. I usually grow these accounts with low risk, high reward trades. A lot of them are butterflies. Some of the examples that I showed were on high short interest tickers. And so those were long calls, but I use a lot of butterflies. So the strategy, you have to know which options method to take advantage of. So typically on high short interest, I use long calls because those are so explosive. You really want to get the benefit of a long call, but on a regular directional trade, I'll use a lot of flies. And then for execution, it's just critical in the options market to know when to get in or out. So as far as, learning setups, you have to work on mastering, recognizing your patterns. That's just so critical. For me, here are my primary patterns. I use the Phoenix, which is going to be identifying relative strength stocks. I use the 5-star pattern, which is the one that I'm talking about today, primarily, confluence of patterns. I love high short interest or the short squeeze. I especially love the short squeeze when it overlaps with when it overlaps with a relative strength ticker or a trend. And I also love trading directional butterflies. So here's an example of a short squeeze. This is a ticker that space, there's a lot of volatility here, and there's a lot of high short interest. So whenever you get near these previous highs and you get a high volume day, boom, up it goes and it just takes off. So that one didn't really have a trend, but it did have the high short interest, it did have the newsworthy feature, and it has cheap options, which is another reason why I love it. So 335 to 662, it's just an example of one trade I took on that, 97%. So obviously they're not all going to be winners. That is just not even true at all. I'm going to have some losers. Here's the day I posted on Twitter at Trader Danielle, like, hey, I lost money trading today. I'm going to take my poodle and I'm going to go out on the boat and cheers to Friday, right? It's going to happen sometimes. Here is an example of a time where I had to roll my options. So I got in right about here. I was looking for a breakout in Peloton, but it came right up to the high and then rolled over. That's so lame when that happens. But my options were expiring, okay? So I was right on my target. These are my targets here, but I was wrong on my timing. So I had to get out of those options, and then I had to get into some more longer dated options, and I ended up losing money on the first half, and then I made money on the second half. So it was kind of a wash, but it's just an example of a losing trade. So, you're going to have losers. For me, typically I'm targeting 50 to 100% on the upside, and then 50% loss on the losers. And that's just a target. A lot of the butterflies I'll get 200 or 300%, but basically, when you're selecting high probability trades, the idea here is that you are going to be able to pick the good winners to begin with, and then you're going to have more winners than losers. And especially with the low risk, high reward, that's how you get ahead. So, for me, I kind of mentioned a couple of my trading strategies, but you really have to know when to use specific strategies. So I like to use in the money calls when I have a pretty aggressive directional setup. But other than that, I do like to sell at the money credit spreads. I'll do some debit spreads when I'm working on building a small account, and then butterflies as well. For me, regular directional butterflies are really the best way to grow a small account, and that's why I use them pretty frequently. And then I also trade long calls on cheaper products, especially if they're a recent IPO, they're going to have cheaper options. So, for me, here is my options account growth formula, and yours is probably going to look different, which is totally fine. And that's why trading is amazing, because you can, make it exactly as you see fit. So for me, I use a combination of relative strength, short squeezes, 5-star setups. Usually I risk 500 to $1,000 maximum. I use calls, debit spreads, put credit spreads, credit, flies, and unbalanced flies. And then it's all about the execution. So how do you know what to do when? Okay, well, I'm a market watcher. I keep watch lists. I think that's really important to keep watch lists and follow along with that every single week, so you can notice if major changes are coming. A lot of these tickers are chosen off of big trends. Okay, here's a picture of me and Todd here on CNBC. We were talking about video game trends back in April. This was at the beginning of the coronavirus crash. We talked about Nvidia, Home Depot, Lowe's, Gold. All of these are live on CNBC, and then I make trades on them. You can find all of that at 5startrader.com. For me, it's all about the community. I love working with our members. I love when I get comments like this, and I love chatting with people on Twitter as well. So for me, I also love being a great teacher. I used to be a teacher in elementary school. Now I'm a teacher in the market, which is amazing. But ultimately, what I like to do is I like to make money, and then I like to take it. So whenever I grow an account, it's like, oh man, you just want to trade with a larger account, right? But for me, taking money out and buying things like this, I bought a boat for my family during this crazy coronavirus quarantine. Was one of the best things I ever spent money on. I had to slash my account to do it, but it was worth it. So, for me, I just slashed my accounts because I wanted to buy a lake house. I wanted to buy the boat. I wanted to get out of, suburbia during this crazy times. And now what I'm doing is I'm trading those back up again. So if you want to join me, you can join me in the Stack Profits Mastery Program. So this is going to be my personal options picking service. You can find the link right here at simplertrading.com/profits-mastery-ms. And Sarah is in the background right there. Sarah is working with me, and she's going to be posting the links to that. In this program, you're able to look over my shoulder as I trade, know exactly what I'm watching and why, and you can catch up on with our exclusive community once a month as I go over the current market and how to trade it. In this program, you are going to receive real-time text alerts. So normally I give market updates every single day. There's going to be some days like, my son's birthday where I'm going to be off, but that's pretty rare. I give market updates, what I'm looking at, the tickers I want to trade. I also post the trades that I'm in. I also give you my specific watch list. So I'm not going to trade everything that's on my watch list, but I'm going to give you everything that's on my watch list. In the program, we also have a trade spreadsheet along with my newsletter. So my newsletter is going to explain different trades that I'm in, why I got in them. I'm going to explain the exact setup. And I do that in the watch list as well. I say, hey, you know what? These are short squeeze setups. These are 5-star setups. Because what I want you to do is I want you to be able to learn the setups and be able to recognize them and find them. Then we go over these during our live trading sessions. These are 3-hour sessions once per month. And I also have sporadic Q&As available as well. Okay. If you can't attend the live sessions, everything is recorded. And if you remember, you can go back and you can view all of the previous recordings as long as the program has been open. So there's a lot of exclusive member content as well. I have a lot of different videos in the Learning Center. I also have a lot of downloadable documents. And if you want to join me, we are offering this program for $597 a quarter or $1997 a year. So again, you have the link to sign up, simplertrading.com/profits-mastery-ms, or you can call Simpler Trading at 512-266-8659. And we're also offering a 10% coupon for anybody who signs up. So if you found this interesting, please feel free to download my slides. You can look them over. You can download the slides at this link. It's going to be simplertrading.com/Danielle-Expo, and you're going to get all the slides from this presentation. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Trader Danielle, or you can go to my newsletter, 5startrader.com. It's a free newsletter. How do you determine if an option is cheap? So it just depends on your account size. For me, if it's under about $7, I would consider it a cheaper option. For a lot of people, trading options on long options anyways, on tickers like Google, Amazon, Apple, Tesla. Well, now they split; they're a little bit cheaper. Those can run 6, 7, 8 grand or more. So if I find tickers like Chewy and Peloton where I can get an option for $6 or $7, that to me is pretty cheap. And so I trade a lot of tickers that have long Delta 70 options that are about 30 days out that are about under $7. So that's how I'm able to grow small accounts in the options market, is by selecting tickers like that to trade. All right, so I think that I'm right about at the end of my time, and Sarah has posted the link for the program. Thank you so much. And then, yeah, you can see the links right there. Do I ever sell options? Yes, I do sell credit spreads on a pretty regular basis. So a lot of times if I'm buying a long call or if I'm buying a long butterfly, then I'll also sell credit spreads at key areas of support. Can you give more details on what you mean by the Phoenix RSI strategy? So basically the Phoenix strategy, what I do is I compare tickers against each other. So what I'm looking for is number one, the strongest sectors overall in the market, and then I'm narrowing that down to look for the strongest stocks within those sectors. Right now, we're looking at a lot of work from home stocks just due to the coronavirus. And then what I like to do is I compare each ticker against each other to determine which one is the strongest. So, right now we have AMD, we have Peloton, NVIDIA. These are some of the strongest stocks in the market right now. So basically, whenever the market pulls back, I'm looking at those. And if it's not pulling back, then I'm looking at those again for breakout buys at the highs. And if you want to learn more about that, there's a ton on it on my newsletter. So if you go to www.5startrader.com, you can find a bunch of blogs that explain the Phoenix strategy. Yeah, and Sarah just posted a link as well to learn more about the Phoenix strategy. All right, well, I believe my time is up, but thank you so much for joining me today. Again, if you want to follow me, you can go to my newsletter. So the link to the slides doesn't work here. Check this one out. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for joining me. I appreciate all of you. I just posted another link to the slides. Make sure you put a dash at the end. Yeah, and Sarah posted it as well. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next one.
Thanks, Danielle. We appreciate your time. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
And as a friendly reminder to everyone, if you'd like to access to high-quality video and audio recordings of all 45+ presentations, please visit virtualpass.moneyshow.com.